Hi everyone, welcome to Anu's classroom. In this video, we will be talking about the cost volume profit analysis. By the end of this video, I hope that you will be able to understand what CVP analysis is, why it is conducted, what are the factors that influence the profit of a firm, and how we can do CVP analysis. So let's get started. What exactly is the cost volume profit analysis? You might have come across this term while we were talking about costs and break-even analysis. So this cost volume profit analysis is a way to find out how changes in the variable and fixed costs, which in turn is affected by the output volume, will affect a firm's profit. Companies use the CVP analysis to see how many units they will need to sell to break even, that is, cover all the costs or reach a certain minimum profit margin. Why exactly do we conduct CVP analysis? CVP relationship or the cost volume profit relationship acquires a very vital significance for the manager who is facing a wide spectrum of short run decisions or short term decisions, like what are the most profitable and what are the least profitable products that our company is manufacturing. How does a reduction in the selling prices affect the profits of the firm? How does volume or the product mix affect the product cost and profits? What will be the break even point if volume and cost change? How will an increase in wages or any other operating expense affect the profit of our firm? What will be the effect of planned expansion on cost, profit, and volume of sales, etc.? The factors that affect a firm's profit is very important to be identified as a manager. Profits are a function of the interplay of cost, price, and each one of them is relevant to profit planning. The variance between actual and budgeted profit due to one or more of the following factors. It could be selling price, volume of sales, variable cost, or fixed cost, okay, will affect the firm's profit. So the price or volume change will affect the net profit. Increase or decrease in variable or even fixed cost will have an effect on net profit. Price, volume, variable cost, and fixed cost, all of them together will again naturally affect the net profit. So, in short, we can say that the factors affecting a firm's profit are the price, the volume, costs, that is both variable as well as fixed costs. We had talked about break-even analysis earlier. Before we, what you can say, start talking about cost volume profit analysis, it is only good that we recap on the break-even analysis which we had learned earlier. So the changes in volume will influence the cost and profit. And this process, while it is happening, a stage will be reached when the cost and the profit or the revenue at a certain level of output becomes same. And at that certain volume of sales, we will neither have any profit nor will we have any loss. And that point is recognized as the break even point. Analysis of when the break even point will be reached is called the break even analysis. Is this cost volume profit and break even analysis the same? The break even point is a point that is incidental to cost volume profit analysis. Therefore, we can say that break even analysis becomes an integral part of cost volume profit analysis, but they are not the same because cost volume profit analysis goes a little bit further than break even analysis. But in usual, what you can say, usual terms, these two terms are often used interchangeably. Now, the steps that are involved in cost volume profit analysis is first we should make a profit graph where the cost and the profit or the revenue is plotted. It is cost on the x axis and revenue on the y axis. The assumption underlying the construction and analysis of profit graph will have to be postulated. And we have to have a concept called the planned range of activity. A very crucial step in understanding this CVP analysis will be the segregation of cost into the fixed and variable components. Okay, we have to briefly examine the procedures of how we can segregate the cost into fixed and variable components. We had discussed that area earlier also while we were talking about cost segregation of semi-variable costs. The concept of marginal cost and contribution has to be introduced, which will ultimately lead us to the break-even analysis and the, what you can say, the decision on what will be called as our margin of safety. After a look at the conventional break-even chart, such charts for various purposes can be demonstrated. And finally, we do the CVP analysis using mathematical formulation. So that is a simple steps involved in CVP analysis. So let's look at them. Some of the assumptions in CVP analysis goes that variable cost is constant cost per unit of volume and the total fixed cost will remain constant throughout. That is, there is no step costs or anything. The efficiency of operation will remain unchanged. All costs can be separated into fixed and variable elements, but that is a very big assumption because in reality it is not that simple. Selling prices per unit of sale will remain constant. Sales mix for a multi-product firm also remains constant, and volume is the only relevant factor which affects the cost. Cost and revenue are being compared on a single activity base. Factor prices like material prices, wage rates, etc. are also assumed to remain unchanged. Variations in opening and closing inventories are also deemed insignificant. So why we are looking at these assumptions is because as managers, when we look at the CVP graph, that is the profit graph, and do the CVP analysis and infer from it, you should also be aware that these are the assumptions which went into creating the CVP graph. And when you take decisions, you should consider that your graph has limitations based on these assumptions, and then accordingly you have to mentally adjust your decisions to arrive at the best possible decision. Now, some of the inferences which we can get from CVP and break-even analysis are that a firm with a high proportion of fixed cost to total cost will be accompanied by a high break-even point and carries a potential for substantial profits once the break-even point is reached. Okay, so that is as if your firm is having a very high proportion on fixed cost. What happens is that once you naturally your break-even point will be much higher than a firm which has a small fixed cost, right? But once you get to the break even point, then the profits you earn will be substantially higher because the variable costs might be will be very small compared to the fixed cost. And as sales booms, as the volume of sales increases, since the fixed cost has been covered, what remains only will be the variable cost, and that can be covered much easily with even small volume of product. So once the break even point is reached, then you will have a very, what you can say, jumps, high leaps in getting profits. But a company with a low proportion of fixed cost to total cost will have a greater flexibility in terms of profitable operation. An increase in sales prices will lower the break even point and increase of margin of safety as well. And an increase in cost will push up the break even point and lower the margin of profit. So that is it for this video. Thank you so much for your attention. This is not the end of cost volume profit analysis. We will be digging deeper into this concept and see how we read the cost volume profit analysis and all. But that will be done in the next video, which will be uploaded soon. Or even by the time you are watching this video, it might have already been uploaded. Just check in the playlist. It will most probably be there as well. Okay, so all the very best. And I hope to see you in the next video where we continue our discussion on cost volume profit analysis. Thank you very much and bye-bye.